and welcome to my presentation. My name is Katja Wassertal, and this presentation is part of my final master's project in marketing and digital communications through the University of Falmouth in the UK. Firstly, thank you for being here. And let's start out with a little bit more about myself. This is the room that I spent most of my study time in the last 2 years while finishing my master's in marketing and communications. I started my academic career by studying information design at the University of Pretoria, South Africa. In my third year, I decided to switch over to a BA Visual Studies, where my favorite subject was anthropology. I then entered the working force in the public sector, where I went through a few different career changes and ended up in communications. In COVID, I decided to pursue a short course in strategic communications through the George Washington University in the US. I loved it. And from there, I decided this would be the perfect opportunity for me to study further and pursue my master's in marketing and digital communications. 2 years later, here I am, talking to you about marketing and digital communications. Throughout my career, I had one very, very big inspiration. And when I worked as a communication specialist, I worked throughout sub-Saharan English-speaking Africa. This is where the concept for this master's began, and the golden thread of Africa was formed. Africa is where I grew up, where I have my friends, my family, and my dreams. However, throughout my master's, I realized that Africa's narrative is still widely misunderstood and underrepresented. I made a decision throughout my master's that I would actively involve Africa into all my work. And I will continue to do that in this presentation. So here we go. The reason for this presentation is to identify 3 challenges or trends in the next 5 years within the marketing and digital communications industry. Now, the question is why? If you're new to marketing, something that you need to understand is that marketers must anticipate trends to identify and market them in the future. Trends are frequently popping up, and they're sometimes caused by political, social, even economic fluctuations, as well as communication and technological advances. So let's jump into the trends. African storytelling was and still is an oral tradition, and a very important part of African history. Often storytelling was the way to preserve their history, myths, and traditions. In a digital society, the opportunity is there to document, revisit, and create awareness. This upcoming trend, specifically where you see young Africans revisiting their past and documenting their everyday life, is a digital manifest of African storytelling from an African perspective and by Africans. Through social media, Africa gets to tell their stories to the rest of the world proudly and authentically, maybe even for the first time in history. The rise of Africa's growth on digital platforms bears its fundaments in the rise of the continent itself. This stems with facts like Southern and Northern Africa having 71 and 66% internet penetration and still growing. Keep in mind that this is higher than the global average. In 2023, Africa, Asia, and South America mobile web page visits exceeded the global average. 74% of Africa's web traffic was also from mobile devices. Think about it this way: 1.3 billion people in Africa, and the doubling of a population in 30 years. The continent will then represent 25% of the global population. Question is, how does African storytelling influence future marketing? Well, to answer this, we need to look a little bit further into the rise of Africa. Foreign investment has gone up and has hit a record of 83 billion in 2021. Further on, Africans bought into consumer items more so than ever before. Also, maximizing economic development is a big thing in Africa right now. So not only does this apply to the next 5 years, but potentially it could apply to the next 50. Africa is to surpass 500 million e-commerce users by 2025. Now, this is very important for marketeers. It means that marketers will need to look into new and innovative ways to market to Africans. I would suggest doing it right from the start. By representing Africa ethically in digital spaces and appealing to African consumers, it could create the perfect opportunity to integrate African storytelling into ethical marketing practices. This, of course, adds immensely to the brand story. If you are going to be using African storytelling, it creates good ethical marketing practices. It would have a positive impact on the consumer, brand loyalty and affinity, social and cultural impact, long-term profitability, and of course, the marketeer is then part of being and uplifting and creating long-term social change. This all leads to sustainable marketing. Let's look at how to sustainably market to an African audience. First would be mobile marketing. Mobile marketing strategies will become imperative for brands to engage with consumers effectively. From mobile optimized websites to targeted mobile ads and SMS campaigns, companies must leverage mobile channels to connect with their target audience. Then we would suggest the localization and cultural alignment. Marketing communications must be tailored to specific regions, languages, and cultures to generate brand affinity and trust. This goes beyond linguistics translation. Localization should include localized visuals, values, and storytelling. Moving on, we go to micro-influencer partnerships. Brands can reach and engage target markets by partnering with influencers. However, we would suggest that micro-influencers would be able to provide localized campaigns at a cost-effective way. Now, additionally to that would be video content. Video content consumption in Africa is rising, making it a powerful marketing tool. This includes the digital format of African storytelling. Video production and distribution gives brands an edge. Short-form videos, live streaming, and video storytelling will help brands engage and communicate. And last but not least, purpose-driven marketing. In conclusion, African storytelling. Purpose-driven marketing, which focus on creating positive and social impact, will continue to gain traction in Africa. Brands that authentically champion causes such as sustainability, inclusivity, and community development can forge strong connections with African consuming, and this can be done via African storytelling. Welcome back, and let's do a quick recap. African storytelling has been previously undermined by colonial mindsets, the Western gaze, and influential ideas around documented history. Marketers, join me and look to the future. African storytelling is going to play a very big role in the documentation of real-life African experiences in the future. And why not join and learn from digital African storytelling to create a wholesome consumer journey? A journey that is authentic, relatable, and truly representational. How digital Africans are expressing and documenting life, culture, language, and so much more enables Africa and its people to take up space in a global digital landscape. If these narratives are considered and integrated into marketing and communication, it includes African storytelling into mainstream marketing systems. Now that's something to think about. Let me know what you think about this. As marketers, we should communicate, discuss, research, and always be able to adapt. Let me know in the comments, and please join me for part 2 of my presentation, where we are going to look at the future trend of femtech in Africa.